So LinkedIn is both a gold mine for people and a terror.
What is broken and how most B2B execs, approach LinkedIn today? What do you think they can do to kind of improve on their influential radar, kind of making those changes?
LinkedIn is super important because people buy from people. And so it's great to have a company presence. That's, of course, really important. But if you personally as an executive aren't on LinkedIn, if your company's executives aren't on LinkedIn, you're missing out on a huge opportunity for organic social media that does not exist anywhere else.
Stephanie Schwab is the CEO of Crackerjack Marketing, a fully remote B2B agency she built from the ground up long before remote work was even a trend. With over 15 years in the game, from Big Six consulting to helping founders grow on LinkedIn, Stephanie brings a sharp blend of strategy, creativity, and global team leadership.
Everybody gets remote. I think the hard part for an agency like mine, where I really chase the best people and I don't really care where they sit.
What are the common misconceptions you come across while talking to these execs?
From a personal branding perspective, your executives, yourself as a founder, are the most important salespeople you have for your company. And it doesn't have to be salesy. But the biggest challenge, you mentioned it, it's that you have to wear so many hats. It was really hard at first because
E-coffee with experts.
Hey, Stephanie, how is it going?
Hey, Renee, how are you?
Doing well. Thank you. Stephanie, before we move any forward, let's get to know the human behind the mic. Why don't you talk us through your journey? Let's rewind a bit. How did you grow up as a kid? How were you? And how did you land up in the digital marketing space? Also a bit about your agency, what do you guys do? And we'll take it from there.
Great. So how I grew up was I thought I was going to be a doctor, and clearly that did not come to pass. But all of my youth and all through school, I thought I was going to be a doctor. And I got to university and saw like this whole world beyond science and math, including the arts, including architecture, including design. And I got really excited about that. And so turns out I ended up with an MBA in marketing and worked for the Big Six consulting firms. I was a management consultant for many years, and then started working in agencies. And I've been doing that ever since. And then I started my business, Crackerjack Marketing, 15 years ago. We are a remote-only agency. We were based, I was originally in New York, then Chicago, and now I live in Barcelona, Spain, but my team is all over the world. So I have 16 people all the way from Philippines to Los Angeles and kind of everywhere in between. So, we do B2B marketing work for companies of many types and also for individual founders and executives.
Lovely. Talk us through the process of, or the challenges of working in a completely remote model, right? I mean, I know it has its own benefits, it has its own challenges. Talk us through the pros and cons of it.
Yeah, remote is of course, since the pandemic, like everybody understands it. But before the pandemic, people were like, wait, you don't have an office? You don't have a telephone system? Like they just didn't understand. But now it's very easy. Like everybody gets remote. I think the hard part for an agency like mine, where I really chase the best people and I don't really care where they sit. And so as a result, the time zones are the hardest part, is trying to get like my chief strategy person who is in India to talk to clients in the US on West Coast time is like almost impossible. So that's the hardest part, is spanning the time zones, getting the right clients aligned with the right people based on their time zones. I sit in Spain, and so I do end up with some late night phone calls myself, but my team in the Philippines and India have much later calls than I do, so I can't really complain. And so I would say that's the hardest part, is just getting everybody together. We do have 2 monthly team meetings a month where everybody, no matter what time zone, we manage to all get on, and so that we can all be together and try to foster some camaraderie across the distance.
Lovely. And you started around 2010. I would not say the worst of times, but not the best of times as well, getting out of the 2008 recession. So how was the market like? What are the early challenges of, starting your own agency? You wear multiple hats as an entrepreneur when starting out, especially, looking at the books, finances, accounts, hiring, ensuring clients' deliverables, getting the first clients. You work as sales as well. So what were those challenges? 2010, was it the best of the time? What was your experience?
So I gave myself 6 months after I left. I was with a big PR agency and I really wanted to do my own thing. And so I gave myself 6 months. I had a runway. I had enough money in the bank to go for 6 months. And I had a husband and a child and a house and a mortgage. So it wasn't the easiest thing, but I did manage to get all the way to my previous salary in 6 months. So that was the goal, and I did.
Lovely.
But the biggest challenge, you mentioned it, it's that you have to wear so many hats. It was really hard at first because I was both selling the business and delivering the business. At the very beginning, I didn't hire anybody. I worked with a VA originally, and he worked a few hours, but it took like 3 or 4 months before I could hire my first freelancer. And so when I was both delivering and selling, that was really, really hard. So, it's like feast or famine, right? You've got clients and you're not doing business, new business. And then suddenly, you lose a client. No, now I have to go and do new business. So, it's hard. That's the challenge, I think, for any kind of solopreneur.
Absolutely. Talk us to the story behind naming your business or agency as Crackerjack Marketing. I love the name.
Thank you. Thanks. I started out when I started just as Stephanie Schwab Consulting, but I quickly knew that I didn't want to have to be in every client. So my name on the door wasn't that interesting to me. It was just, I didn't have a choice at the time. I didn't know what to call it. Took me 1.5 years to brand the agency. And when I finally did, there's a food called Crackerjack in the United States, Cracker Space Jack. It's like a popcorn caramel thing. And everybody assumed that that's what I named it for. But my name is Crackerjack, one word, and it means, the definition of it is a person of excellence. And so I wanted to be the most Crackerjack agency. I wanted to hire the most Crackerjack people who were really clever and excellent and fun and spirited. And so that was how I came up with the name. But it took me 1.5 years to come up with it.
Nice. And then talking about LinkedIn strategy, I mean, you talk about it a lot, right? So what is broken and how most B2B execs, approach LinkedIn today? How do you think, what do you think they can do to kind of improve on their influential radar, kind of making those changes?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is both a gold mine for people and a terror for people. So people either love it and recognize the value of it, or they're terrified of it, but they kind of feel like, oh, but I should be doing it. I think there's a lot of guilt around LinkedIn, or shame, I'm not doing it. I know I should be, but I'm not. And so we want to remove that feeling for people. And so the service that we offer to executives, to founders, executives, department heads, is that we do LinkedIn for them. So our LinkedIn executive service is soup to nuts. We can write for you, create videos, create graphics or infographics. Then we do the posting and we do the daily engagement for some of our clients as well. So we make it turnkey and really easy for clients. And so it takes away that I know I should be, but I don't have time. I know I should be, but I'm afraid to post. Like when somebody else is doing the writing for you and you can just say, oh yes, that's my voice. That sounds right. That sounds like me. Then you get a lot less anxious about posting because you know that the content is good quality and that you feel proud of it. Versus people who don't like to write or don't have time, get really anxious about it. And so we try to remove that barrier. So LinkedIn is super important because people buy from people. And so it's great to have a company presence. That's, of course, really important. But if you personally as an executive aren't on LinkedIn, if your company's executives aren't on LinkedIn, you're missing out on a huge opportunity for organic social media that does not exist anywhere else. LinkedIn is the place for individuals to be.
Absolutely. And you're speaking with a lot of execs, about their LinkedIn approach, profile, and how should they kind of be going about it. What are the common misconceptions you come across while talking to these execs?
So, what I said earlier is one of those things. So a lot of execs are just afraid. And so they think that LinkedIn is scary. And that's like the biggest misconception. Like LinkedIn is super forgiving. Just like all social media, everything disappears. And so you can go out and say something today and nobody will remember it in a week. It's perfectly fine. Yeah. And so, I think that people should really jump in and experiment more and not be as afraid of it. But the other misconception is that it's only for tech founders or it's only for people who have something to say, that they've got to have something really important and earth shattering and be super philosophical. But that's not true. I think LinkedIn is kind of like Facebook, but for business people, right? People want to hear about your life. They want to know how your business is going. They want to know how you're growing. They want to know how you're expanding and what kind of mistakes are you making and what kind of successes you're having. marketing. So those of us that have kids, like we used to write about all of our kids on Facebook or on Twitter, like my kid did this, my kid did that. Think about LinkedIn as that, but for your business. My business did this and my business did that, right? That's interesting to other people. And I think a lot of people feel like it's more important than that. And it doesn't have to be. If you're on there and you're being yourself, it will help your business.
Absolutely, absolutely. And talking about business, these days, a lot of business owners are kind of focusing on their own personal branding to kind of align with their business growth, right? And kind of both kind of overlaps or goes hand in hand. So what is your take on it? How should a business owner, I mean, let's say business owners listening to our podcast today, how should they ensure, the word kind of spreads out from their personal branding perspective?
Yeah. So as I said, people buy from people. And so from a personal branding perspective, your executives, yourself as a founder are the most important salespeople you have for your company. And it doesn't have to be salesy. So again, if you're talking about your business, if you're talking about things that you're doing, successes and failures, that's interesting to a wide swath of people.
Yeah.
And so that will bring people into you, to follow you, to be engaged with you. And what's really important to remember is that B2B companies, any one person in a B2B company is only in the market for services, any type of services, about 5% of the year or 5% of the time. So if you're only like coming to LinkedIn and posting once every quarter or like congratulating a new employee or talking only when you're speaking on stage or at a conference, then you're missing the opportunity to engage with people that are following you for 95% of the time that they're not in the market. So consistency is really important. If you're out there at least once a week, week in and week out, then there's a much greater chance that people will see you and see that and remember you and remember that, oh yeah, they can help me with something. So that really brings more people in and gets them interested in your services.
Absolutely. Another interesting subject here, Stephanie, is about AI and social and content creation, right? How can we skip that? So, I mean, you have seen enough summers and winters in the industry now, enough Google updates. AI has been like one of the biggest, shifts that you have seen in the SEO content or overall, industry landscape. One thing I would like to understand is your overall take on AI and how do you see it being revolutionary, when you talk about social and content creation?
I don't think we yet understand the full impact that AI is having on our society.
I would agree with you, yeah.
It's going to be so tremendous. It's somewhat like the beginning of the internet, only it's happening in light speed. It's happening so much faster than when the web came to be. That did change our society, of course, tremendously, incalculably. But I think AI is going to have an even bigger impact in the long run. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens and how that transforms. But as far as AI in marketing, of course, it's an incredibly important part of what we do today. We use AI in many, many different ways. I think any agency or marketer who doesn't is making a mistake because their competitors are, and it's an advantage to be using it. At the same time, I think that there's a lot of companies and individuals and agencies who overly rely on AI. And so, like, for example, an executive who says, I don't have to worry about this too much. I'm just going to prompt AI and get my LinkedIn posts that way. And then I'll just slap them up on LinkedIn and it'll be fine. I think that they're not understanding that their AI slop, I think the official term for it now is slop, the stuff that you get straight from ChatGPT or Claude or whatever is just like not always that great. And you're just adding that to the pile that is now stacking up of mediocre content that's out there. And that's true for SEO. It's true for website content. It's true for social, certainly. It's true for videos now. And so if you're just adding to that pile of mediocre content, how are you going to stand out? So how's Google going to see you? How's LinkedIn, the algorithm, going to see you? How are individuals going to see you? And so it's really important to go beyond what AI gives you. Take it like up a notch from there, at least a notch, if not many notches, and make it your own. And so while we use AI as the foundation of everything that we do, we have human writers who finalize every single thing that we put out for every one of our clients. And that's even the process that I use for myself, for my own LinkedIn. So it's really important to make it extra. And the only way you're going to make it extra is with a human right now.
Yeah.
Not to say that in a few years, that the AI can be like really merged with our brain and it's going to be super able to get our thoughts and make it perfect. But for this moment in time, it is really, really important that companies stand out with superlative content, and AI can't deliver that by itself.
Absolutely. I mean, it still needs a human-edited version of it, let's say, right? And it is not yet the final deliverable product for sure. But with AI, you never really know. I mean, with the kind of
Someday.
advancements, yeah. I mean, you never really know. But yeah, I mean, this has been a great conversation, Stephanie. A few things before I let you go. One thing for our young listeners, especially because, working from large scale, like the top 6 consulting firms. Right now it's big 4, but yeah, I mean, and then kind of working in enterprise level corporates to now owning your own agency, completely remote, running a remote agency since 2010, ahead of its time, even when remote work culture was a word or a term. Right. So you've seen it all, right? So for our young listeners who are trying to kind of, start their own entrepreneurship journey or setting up their own agency at any point in their career, what is your advice?
So I teach digital marketing, and so I teach university students all the time, and they have the same question, like, what can I do when I get out? Can I start my agency? Can I start my own business? And so it goes back to when you start, you have to do everything. And so you have to have a plan for both delivery, which is what most people think, oh, I know how to do SEO. I'll start a little SEO agency. But you also have to have a plan for new business. So that comes back to LinkedIn, that having your own LinkedIn presence, your personal LinkedIn presence is such a great jumping off point for starting any kind of a business. And so even before, like for my university students, before they get out of school, the first class that I teach how to do LinkedIn for personal brands, because I want them to use the entire year of their master's program to build up their personal brands so that they become known. And then you have a platform from which you can go and sell services. So yes, your website's going to be really important, but your LinkedIn is your own personal landing page. And so if as a student, as a young person, as somebody wanting to start their own company, build up your LinkedIn profile, like make your profile page amazing, put good content out there, make sure that people understand what you do and what your expertise is. And that is a great jump start into anything that you want to launch.
Absolutely, Stephanie. Thank you so much for the insightful session. But before we let you go, a quick rapid fire.
Okay.
All right, let's do this. Your last Google search.
Cruises to the Caribbean.
Okay, next vacation then.
Next vacation is, I'm off to Chicago, and then I'm going to Bangkok and Tokyo in the fall.
Lovely. All right, where do we find Stephanie on Friday evenings after weaving that SEO magic for their clients?
Probably watching TV, like right now, The Bear and The Gilded Age. So watching good television shows.
Okay, your celebrity crush.
Ooh, that's tough. Ryan Gosling, maybe?
Okay. All right. Okay. What did you do with the first paycheck of your life, Stephanie?
Gosh, it was a long time ago. I probably bought clothes.
You have been a sport. Thank you so much once again.
Thanks so much, Ranmay. This has been
Taking our
fun.
time to do this with us. Really appreciate it. Yeah. Cheers.
Take care.